they earn, I think, $3 per book, and I think there's 15 names. They have to get somebody's name, their contact information, whatever, and if they complete the book, the Truth gets an additional $3 for each one of those books. I hate that system, so we don't embrace it in our Truth. So they would not know specifically, but it's the same kind of a thing. You know, then the booklet gets turned into council, that goes to GSUSA, and then those people that signed up in that book are hit with all those things.
They get something, right, they get something in the mail. So another way that you could direct mail market your cookies is, let's say you have a monthly newsletter that you do, a printed newsletter, right? And you have a whole section that talks about cookies. And even though the cookie sales kind of start, what do they start, late January? Or kind of early January, and they go through what, late February, right? Early March?
St. Patrick's Day.
St. Patrick's Day, okay. So you've got 2.5 months where you actively sell, where you're actively selling, it's not over yet, Deanna, where you're actively selling cookies, but the rest of the year you could be talking about, you know, where the cookies are made. And if they're talking about new flavors, if they're testing new flavors, what you can expect in the future. So you can begin to market and talk about that, and you can print that inside of a newsletter and then deliver it as a direct mail piece. So that's an idea of how to market, even though that may not be being used right now. Email. So you may send a personal email to a friend who then sends it to 5 or 6 friends, or your mom or dad might send a personal email and say, like I did, you know, hey, I got Girl Scout cookies. You know, Gracie's selling Girl Scout cookies. If anybody wants any, let me know what you want. That is an email. So that could create somebody forwarding the email and telling other people. So that's a way to email market. You can also do it on a larger scale where you're actually sending huge amounts of email out, much like you do with those magazines and what you just described a minute ago. Social marketing, that's huge, especially because you guys are young, word of mouth, and you're always talking to friends, and those friends talk to friends, and they talk to friends, and that's all social marketing, that's social networking. So if any of you guys have Facebook pages, you might put up on your Facebook page, hey, I've got cookies for sale. Cookies are finally in, you know, I've got 20,000 boxes of Thin Mints and 10,000 boxes of Samoas, and I'm ready to go. So if anybody wants any, let me know. That's all social media, social marketing. Marketing in the future. So this is what we talked about a minute ago. So what's going to happen to branding? Well, branding is always going to be really important. It's probably going to be the most important part of a marketer's arsenal, if you will, or our most important part of a marketer's day-to-day, because the successful companies always want to be sure that people trust them. If you can't trust who you're buying from, then it's really, really hard. Then you either have to have really, really good salespeople, or you end up not doing so well.
So is it safe to say with branding that the logo represents like what you're going to get? So if you see, for example, the way our brains work, when you see the golden arches for McDonald's, you automatically think quarter pounder with cheese and fries, right?
That's right.
No, we think, her and I go, no, we think sick. We get sick every time we go there. But
see, there you go. Everyone has a different, but the majority of people, when they see, and it's funny that you use that because I use that analogy all the time. You could see this much of the top of the golden arches, and you would instantly think hamburgers.
Yeah,
because
or the Coca-Cola, sometimes you just see.
Exactly.
Which one of you, when you guys made your big books, and we had the snippet of the Coca-Cola ad, and you can only see the CO, but we know what it is. Who has that? The Coke on the front of their thing. Is that yours? Yeah. But you know what it is. The font.
Exactly.
The design of the font. So it's an automatic affiliation, I guess, in our heads when we see stuff like that. Would that be what branding would be?
That's a massive part of branding. Okay. That's a massive, and that's a great point.
So when you see
people recognize this.
It's about health and safety, right? Okay.
People recognize this as Girl Scouts. They wouldn't have to see. This is what's called a bug. Right? So they wouldn't have to see anything but this to recognize that that's Girl Scouts. Now, VIRGO, we just went through what's called a rebrand. So this brand for us is brand new. Brand new. And it represents what we call 5 core tenets in our company. And those are the principles that our company is built on. And that's content, which, remember we talked earlier, we are information companies, so we actually distribute content or media. Audience, all right? User experience. We want to make sure that when people come to our websites, they have really good user experience. Then we have performance marketing. Okay, so performance marketing is all of the things that I'm talking about. Where you've got emails that are going out and social media. So we got content, audience, brands is a big part of that. And that's actually almost one of the central. People have to trust our brands. So the branding is very, very important, and all the more important when you're rebranding something. So remember that example I used a little while ago with the email where we showed the rebrand? That's really important. That'll be an ongoing thing that we do for months and months and months, where we tell people why did we rebrand? Did we just want to change the look, or do we actually have a meaning behind it, much like what we did with VIRGO's logo? So it's a very good point. Telemarketing. This is a form of marketing that I think is going to get used less and less. Primarily because people don't want to get phone called. Just what your reaction was. Ugh. People don't really like to talk to people they don't know. They don't want to be sold on the phone. They want to be able to trust in the brands that they're interacting with, and then they want to interact on their own time. Direct mail, kind of similar. It's going to get used less and less. People are beginning to use, and for a different reason, people are beginning to use electronic forms of getting their mail. Okay, so you guys may have heard that the U.S. Post Office is not doing so great these days. Well, the reason why is because a lot of people use email, and a lot of people do paperless billing because they're trying to protect the environment, so they don't want to have a company have to print their bills and mail them to them. So all of those things are playing into it, but the other part of it is that direct mail isn't having the kind of impact that it used to because there's other ways to talk to people. So when we send a piece out like this, even though we put some technology on it, we still get less response than we used to get maybe 5 years ago. So it's something that we're constantly... No, not at all.
You guys hear your parents say, oh, junk mail? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff that he's referring to.
Yes, exactly. A lot of direct mail is, another form for it, or the consumer form for it is junk mail, because it's not something that they've necessarily asked for. So that's something that's a very good point. Email. Email, again, is changing. It's going to become a really important way, or continue to be a really important way that we market, but it's going to require people's permission. Implicit permission, which means that they have to say, yes, I want emails from your company. And they have to have an easy way to say, no, I don't want any more emails from your company if it gets to a point, kind of like the telemarketing thing, where you're calling them too much, you're emailing them too much. The other thing about email is the personalization. So on your direct mail pieces there, you see it says, hey, Ralph, or David, or what does that one say, Marco? Oh, it's right there on the front.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, Marco, your competition will be there, will you? So that personalization and referencing people's first names and maybe their company and the state they live in, those kind of things are going to become used more and more in email. Email will be personalized. Social marketing. This is where the big changes are happening. So it'll continue to be a top way that people market. The use of social and what we call business networks. So you guys have social networks, right? You have your friends and maybe your relatives. Those are social networks. Well, in a business world, it's business networks. So it's colleagues. It's people that you know at other companies. It's people that are maybe in associations with you. Those kind of folks. So that'll be a continued way, or continue to be a way that marketers market to folks. And again, successful companies will want to make sure people are spreading the word without them having to do anything. So what happens then when I get my box of cookies is I might go onto my Twitter and say, oh, I've eaten too much cookies. I just spent the whole weekend diving into 3 boxes of Thin Mints because I have a terrible addiction to Thin Mints. Well, that word gets out. There's 500 people that follow me. Those 500 people see Girl Scout cookies and they go, oh, wait a minute, I forgot. I got to go and get Girl Scout cookies, right? That helps market and sell Girl Scout cookies, right? So those are all things that social media, that's powerful stuff. When I can go out to 500 people and those 500 people can go out to all the people they know, think of how quickly that can get to all the people that live in the United States. Or maybe, hey, you might get a phone call from somebody in Sweden that says, I would like to have some cookies. I think that's the wrong accent, but we'll go with it. We'll go with it. I think I combined Irish and Swedish there. So you guys have any questions?
That's a million.
A million? Okay. We have time for 999,000.
All right. So that last one. Who was our question writer in the choir? You and Amanda both?
Yeah, you got it.
So review the questions. If it's something that he's already answered or something that is not about his company, then we can save it. But reread the questions and let's see how those pertain to him. Are you brain transferring to each other? Is there any communication happening? Do you want me to look at it again? Let's see. Okay, so he covered the first question. Do you mind if I just...
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
The first question that we had was, of all the forms of marketing, which seems to work the most effectively? And I think that he's kind of covered that with email seems to be working well, internet advertising, stuff like that seems to be working the best.
Yes.
Agreed?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what else? What did I just talk about? Social media. Social marketing. That's a big one. In your generation, you guys will be the, I'll use the word purveyors. So you'll be the people, the stewards. Yes, that's a great word. The stewards of social media, because that's all about your generation. How old are you guys?
I'm 14.
14?
11.
11? Okay.
Almost 12. When's your birthday? Ah,
Okay.
all right.
Well, you guys will definitely be the stewards.
What direction do you feel internet advertisements are moving?
Internet advertisements?
Yeah, yes. And now in listening to what you've had to say, I don't know that that's the right word.
No, I understand the question, I think. So let me see if this is the answer that you're looking for. What you will see happening more and more, you guys all know Google, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Google, they're a really big company. They're everywhere. They have a lot of things that they work on or that they're involved with. So they collect what's called data. And that data will tell people, or will tell them, what people are reading and what they're looking up, searching for on the internet, right? So what they're going to use that data for in the future is to provide advertisements for things that you're most interested in. So for example, if you always, when you go online, if most times you go online, you're checking out, let's say